In 75 BC, a 25-year-old Roman nobleman boarded a ship headed for the island of Rhodes. He wanted to study rhetoric, public speaking, the art of persuasion. He never made it to Rhodes. What happened instead was, depending on your perspective, either a disaster or the single most on-brand thing Julius Caesar ever did. The Mediterranean in 75 BC had a piracy problem. Specifically, it had a Cilician piracy problem. The Cilicians were a group of pirates operating out of what is now southern Turkey, and they had spent several decades terrorizing shipping lanes, kidnapping wealthy travelers, and generally making themselves extremely difficult to deal with. The Roman Senate was aware of this. They had chosen, largely, to do nothing about it. The pirates provided a steady supply of slaves, and the senators needed slaves for their farms, so the arrangement suited everyone. Everyone except the people being kidnapped, obviously, but they were not senators. So the pirates continued. And one afternoon, near a small island called Pharmacusa, they boarded a ship and found Julius Caesar. They demanded a ransom of 20 talents of silver. For context, 20 talents was a significant sum of money. It was the kind of ransom you demanded for someone important. Caesar laughed at them. Not nervously. Not diplomatically. He actually laughed. Then he told them they clearly had no idea who he was, and that 50 talents would be a more appropriate amount for a man of his standing. The pirates agreed. They were reportedly delighted by this. They found it charming. This was their first mistake. Caesar sent his companions to the nearby city of Miletus to raise the money. This left him on the island of Pharmacusa with a small group of pirates, for what would turn out to be 38 days. What followed was, by any reasonable measure, one of the stranger hostage situations in recorded history. Caesar told the pirates when to stop talking so he could sleep. He wrote poetry and speeches to pass the time, and then he made the pirates listen to them. When they did not respond with sufficient enthusiasm, he called them illiterate barbarians. To their faces. He joined in their games and exercises. He bossed them around. He complained about the food, presumably. And on multiple occasions, smiling, he told them that when this was over, he was going to come back and have them all crucified. The pirates found this hilarious. A 25-year-old Roman student, sitting on their island, threatening to crucify them. Hilarious. After 38 days, the ransom arrived. The pirates collected their 50 talents, set Caesar free, and watched him sail away. They stayed where they were, anchored off Pharmacusa, dividing up the money. They had no reason to leave. The matter was settled. The young nobleman with the poetry was gone. Time to find the next hostage. Here is what they had failed to understand about Julius Caesar. When Julius Caesar told you he was going to do something, he was not making conversation. Caesar arrived in Miletus and immediately began raising a naval force. He had no official authority to do this. He held no military office. He was a private citizen who had just been released from captivity and by any normal measure should have gone home, or continued to Rhodes, or done something sensible. Instead, he assembled a fleet, sailed back to Pharmacusa, and found the pirates exactly where he had left them. They had not moved. He captured most of them without significant difficulty. He also recovered his 50 talents, the ransom money. He took that back too. Then he transported the pirates to a prison in the city of Pergamum and went to find the Roman governor of Asia, a man named Marcus Junius, to arrange their execution. Marcus Junius looked at the pirates. Then he looked at the considerable sum of money that could be made by selling them into slavery instead. He told Caesar he would need some time to consider the matter. Caesar did not wait. He went back to the prison, and he crucified the pirates himself, without the governor's authorization, without any legal power to do so. He simply did it because he had said he would, and Julius Caesar did not say things he did not mean. There is one additional detail worth noting. Caesar, according to the ancient sources, had genuinely grown somewhat fond of the pirates during his 38 days on Pharmacusa. They had, in their way, been decent company. So before the crucifixions, he had their throats cut first, so they would not suffer. That was his idea of mercy. Crucifixion, but efficient. If that was how he treated people he liked, you can perhaps understand why the Roman Senate was eventually quite concerned about him. The historical sources for this story are Plutarch and Suetonius, writing roughly 150 years after the events. Historians note that Caesar himself told the story in the Senate, which means it may have been embellished somewhat in his favor. The core events, the kidnapping, the raised ransom, the return, the crucifixion, are considered likely to be broadly accurate. Caesar went on to become one of the most powerful men in Roman history. He was assassinated in 44 BC on the steps of the Senate by people who had once considered him an ally. He did not see it coming, which is arguably the only time in his life that someone managed to surprise him. The island of Pharmacusa still exists. It is now called Pharmacusa and belongs to Greece. There are no monuments to Julius Caesar there. There are, presumably, no monuments to the pirates either, which seems about right.